It can make you act like an idiot, it gives you liver disease, and it puts thousands of you in hospital every single year.
And yet we love it, binge drinking. New figures show 1/3 of you drink every week.
But isn't getting drunk just part of growing up?
Revealed this week, you have a drinking problem.
Hi, I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Ant, you're watching Revealed. 15% of 16 and 17-year-olds in the UK get drunk 3 times a week, according to a new survey from Drinkaware.
That's higher than nearly anywhere else in Europe, and experts say it means you've got a drinking problem.
But isn't it less about alcohol and more about rebelling against your parents, fitting in with your mates and having a laugh on a Friday night?
Even though too much of this usually ends in this.
I don't see why you'd want to get drunk like every week.
No, if she can't stop for us, then what will she stop for?
You're with all your friends and everyone's having a good time, and then someone gets out some alcohol, you just go along with it and you just drink it.
If people want alcohol that badly, they can get it.
So, do you really have a drinking problem? Ant's in Brighton to find out if this scene rings any bells with you.
Have you ever been in this situation?
Yeah, I ended up running away from my friend's house at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
This is a pretty familiar sight. Have you guys ever been in it?
Yeah,
You have? I haven't actually, I'm quite lucky.
Is this a scene that you're familiar with?
Yep.
You just turned 18, right?
Yes.
Okay. Before you were 18, did you drink?
Not really. I didn't really like the taste of alcohol, so I didn't drink before 18, but then turned 18 and I could go to pubs, so I did.
Have you ever been in this state? Honest?
Yeah.
Okay, what
Not often, just a couple of times.
Did your parents know at the time what was going on?
I went home and then they obviously found out, but they did it while I was being sick everywhere. Then I was still drunk when I got home and my mum was just like, ah!
The government is under pressure to reduce the amount you drink, and they know that cold winter nights like this aren't as much of a problem as the summer holidays. This year, police confiscated the equivalent of over 6,500 bottles of beer from you. Sounds a lot, but it's less than about half a sip for every teenager in the UK.
Last year in England alone, more than 14,000 12 to 17-year-olds needed to spend a night in hospital because they drank too much. And thousands more were admitted, treated and then sent home within a couple of hours. That's despite the fact you can't even legally buy alcohol.
If you're under 18, it's illegal for you to buy alcohol anywhere in the UK. But in England, Wales and Scotland, your parents can buy you alcohol to drink at home if you're over 5. In Northern Ireland, you need to be over 14. It's illegal for shops or off licences to sell alcohol to an adult if there's any suspicion they might pass it on to an under 18. But if you're 16 or 17, you can drink beer, wine or cider with a meal in a restaurant or the eating area of a pub. In Scotland, you can go to the bar yourself. In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, you have to get an adult to go for you. In England and Wales, it's illegal for under 18s to be in a pub after midnight. In Northern Ireland, it's 9 o'clock, and in Scotland, you have to be away by 8.
So it is legal for your parents to let you have alcohol at home.
Sometimes we have wine up in here.
That's something Eddie and Neela are allowed to do. Their mum grew up in a pub and is relaxed about them drinking, but does that stop them binging?
If you grow up and you're not allowed to drink, then you're going to go and still drink and then go and get really drunk.
You go a bit mad with it, and then if you grow up and your mum thinks you're okay with it, then you go up being a bit more used to it, and then you're better with it.
Yeah.
Sensible.
Yeah.
Have you ever been drunk?
Yeah.
Yeah,
few
on
times,
a few occasions.
I was 13, just nearly 10, 14, and I went up the cricket field with some of my friends, and everyone got a bit drunk, and then the police came, and then I got a stop form, and then got taken home by the police. My dad was okay, because he was understanding, and then I told my mum.
was furious.
She grounded me for a month.
If you weren't allowed any alcohol at all, do you think you'd drink more?
I think I would have, because I'm not the best child, am I? And I think I would rebel more.
But you still like to go down to the beach every now and then and maybe drink a little bit more than you should?
Maybe. Yeah.
What makes you do that?
I don't know. When you're with all your friends and everyone's having a good time and then someone gets out some alcohol, you just go along with it and you just drink it.
And if you turn it down, are you seen to be a bit of a loser?
Yeah, you are. You're meant to drink quite a lot.
How often would you say then you've been drunk? Can you count on one hand or is it more than that?
Could be more than that.
Is it okay to be drunk?
Yes, it's become like a normal thing, I think. People don't see it as, oh my God, she's drunk.
No.
I just see it as, oh, everyone's drunk.
You've got an older sister, right? Does she drink?
No, she converted to Islam when she was 18.
Right.
So alcohol is no more.
Religion aside, would you guys ever quit drinking?
I don't think I would. If there was religion, there would be reason to stop. But right now, I don't think, especially not when I'm a teenager, I don't think I want to stop because it's quite fun.
Not really.
Like Neela and Eddie's sister, for some people, alcohol isn't a part of their life because it's against their religion. While some Muslims do drink, most don't because they believe it goes against the teachings of Islam. People with other religious beliefs also abstain, including some Sikhs, Buddhists and Mormons. But what if there's another reason why you wouldn't drink?
Figures suggest about half of under 15s have never even tried alcohol, because of course a lot of people just don't like the taste.
Do you drink?
Not that much. Well, my mates, they drink all the time, but just like little sips here and there.
So have you ever been drunk then?
Never, ever. I just don't like the taste of it. It's like, it's not all that.
To find out if Jamie gets a hard time from his mates for not drinking, go to our website.
bbc.co.uk/switch/revealed. Dr. Ranj is there too.
Is if you drink heavily for a long period of time, then it starts to affect your liver. You won't know until it's too late.
He's been answering your health questions.
I don't get hangovers. Does that mean my body can cope?
Head to our website to find out.
Whether getting drunk with your mates is a problem or not, there are thousands of young people who certainly do have a problem with alcohol, and it has nothing to do with what they're drinking.
1.3 million under 16s in the UK have a parent with a serious drink or drug problem. Jack is one of them.
He says his mum is a good mum and has always looked after him and his brother well. But he says it's normal for him to get home from college and find her drunk. His dad works away through the week, but binge drinks on the weekends.
Goes out, he gets completely wrecked, comes back, and you don't know what mood he's going to be in. That really did scare me, because I've never seen that side of my dad before.
Shouting and...
I've even, suggested for him that take mum out to a restaurant or go to the cinema or do something other than go to the pub and get completely drunk.
He sounds like you're the parent here.
Yeah, I know.
Does it feel like that sometimes?
Sometimes I feel like I'm acting older than I should be.
Jack says he hasn't been able to do things like going out with friends because he's wanted to be at home to make sure his mum doesn't fall or hurt herself.
Probably thought of it like having a disabled mum.
Really? Because you've had to care for her so much?
Yeah.
Have you been able to tell your friends at school that she's got a problem?
No, I've not spoke to any of my friends about it.
Wow, that must have been quite lonely.
Yeah. I mean, at school I didn't really have many friends. I usually kept myself to myself.
What were you worried that they might think if they knew that your mum had a drink problem?
I didn't want them feeling sorry for me. I know that my mum does have a problem, but at the same time I don't want people thinking that I can't cope with it.
Jack is now getting support from a Turning Point project called Basecamp. His mum has promised she'll stop drinking, but hasn't managed it so far.
It feels like I've not done enough, that I've not been able to help her to stop drinking. It feels like, no, if she can't stop for us, then what will she stop for?
Obviously, we've done this interview anonymously so that no one knows who you are.
Yeah.
Why did you want to be anonymous?
Because I know people around my area will probably watch this, and I don't want them looking to my mum and dad and thinking, oh, they're really bad people, because they're not.
Are you ashamed of it?
I'm not ashamed, no. I mean, I hope every day that she doesn't touch a drink, no. But I mean, on Fridays I can understand going out and having a drink. I mean, I do like to go out myself.
Do you ever worry that you might start slipping into having a problem yourself?
No. I mean, I know that my parents do have alcohol problems, but I mean, if I say that I'll never ever touch alcohol because of it, then I would be a liar, because not like any other teenager, I like a good drink, I like a good laugh with mates, but I know my limit.
Jack, like so many of you, have told us you know your limits, but are those limits actually quite dangerous? Time for a piece of cake and a ketchup.
So you met Jack.
Yeah.
Do you think he's likely to develop a problem because his parents have got a problem?
He says obviously not. He thinks says he can control his drinking and that his parents have told him to know your limits and stick to them. But what he thinks of as reasonable limits and a reasonable amount to drink, like a lot of us, is actually a lot of alcohol.
It's almost become cool to say, drink a whole bottle of wine, and that might not sound that much, but that is actually binge drinking.
What did the sisters have to say about this?
Yeah, Neela and Eddie would say they knew loads of people who would be at a party and they'd pretend to be drunk because it was cool to be drunk.
Yeah. And it has almost become a rite of passage, hasn't it? Everyone knows the age at which they first got drunk.
Yeah.
When was it for you?
Around about 15, 16, and I remember one particularly really bad night involving some vodka and orange juice. Okay, Charlotte, how about you?
About the same, about 15. It was a lot of white wine.
There's lots of talk in parts of the UK of raising the amount it costs for a unit of alcohol.
Because that's another thing, isn't it? Price. 2 litres of cider.
Yeah.
And 3 bottles of Alka-Pops.
Okay.
Now, bearing in mind that these drinks here, 1 lemonade and 1 Coke, cost a couple of quid. So how much do you reckon this lot cost?
Right, okay, well none of them are like big popular brands.
No.
So I'm going to say 6 quid.
Okay, these are about £1 each. This was £1.79.
That's probably enough to get, what, say 2 people drunk? Alcohol in the UK is cheap.
The Scottish Government wants to change the law to make cheap drinks like those more expensive. So Ant's in Edinburgh to find out if that will make a difference to how much you drink.
As a generation, teenagers are drinking a huge amount.
Yeah, but who did people learn it off? They must have learned it off somebody.
Like loads of generations, like all of them like drink too much, I think.
We just had an 18th the other day and alcohol was involved, and you also get other people who just go out and drink themselves silly.
I don't see why you'd want to get drunk like every week. Like,
Okay, well this survey, which is out now, says 15% of 16 to 17-year-olds admit to getting drunk 3 times a week. So does that shock you?
3 times?
3 times a week. Do you think British teenagers have a drinking problem?
Definitely compared to the rest of Europe.
Drinking that amount, I think price does come into it.
yeah, you could get drunk 3 times a week for under £5.
Alcohol is cheap, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think if alcohol is made more expensive, fewer teenagers would drink as much?
There are some that will drink less because they can't afford as much. But the ones that are convinced that we're going to go out, I'm going to drink X amount, I'm going to get drunk.
They'll pocket it.
Yeah.
Just stick up. If people want alcohol that badly, they can get it.
I think what the Scottish Government is talking about are things like you can get about 4 beers for less than £1. That's going to go up to a couple of quid. Bottle of cider, a couple of pounds at the moment, more likely to be about £5, and a cheap vodka is more likely to be around about, £9–10. Do you think those kind of price hikes will make a difference?
Definitely. I think getting rid of the deals or changing the deals so that they're a bit more expensive would affect how much people drink.
With underage drinkers, you get like the craziness factor. Like, I feel crazy doing this. Like, I shouldn't be, but I am.
Where if you let 15, 16-year-olds into pubs and you're a bit lenient there, let them into pubs so that the rebellious factor, kind of like, oh, I'm doing something illegal, is completely eliminated. Let them drink, but don't let them drink anything.
I'm not sure adults will be willing to monitor children getting
It's really naive to just say that like things like that will work, when I just think this whole like putting the money up in the first place is just a way for like people to like again shoulder the blame onto young people.
So, do you have a drinking problem?
You do drink more than most other teenagers in Europe, even though it often ends in puke and tears.
But is alcohol itself really the issue?
Most people go out and for under a tenner, they can go out and get steaming. That's the problem. It just is the done thing.